ready for a change?
I am talking to you.
Then get ready to explore the quantum possibilities. It's time to transform that outdated paradigm into something universal and new. Time to uncover the truth hidden beneath the veil of lies. A time to think outside the box as we link to a higher consciousness. Welcome to the awakening. And now the hosts of Broadcast Team Alpha, Nori Love and Augie Nost.
Hello, everybody. We are here again, live on KCOR Radio, ready for some cutting-edge conversations. And we are just gonna have that with information that is far outside of the box. We have a phenomenal guest with you tonight, but before I introduce the guest to you, I'd like to tell you how you can connect with us. You will find us at our website, broadcastteamalpha.com, and we are on YouTube with the same name, Broadcast Team Alpha. And yes, if you go to YouTube and check out the other shows we have, you will be impressed. We got some doozies, whatever a doozy is, and all the way from how to reverse the aging process that science now know how to do, and because the Nobel Prize was given for its discovery, and it's simple, but nobody told us. And all the way to time travel equipment I demonstrated on a BBC television documentary, and how to tap into the universal consciousness for both information and resources. And you will find it at our website, broadcastteamalpha.com. And when you are on YouTube of the channel, please subscribe and click the bell next to the subscribe button. For those of you who like to hear this show again, just go to broadcastteamalpha.com and also on YouTube, of course. And, of course, we are in the archives of KCOR Radio, and that is at kcorradio.com. And down to the bottom of the page at kcorradio.com, there is this phenomenally nice feature. It's called a donate button. And if you feel inclined, if you like what you hear, please help us donate to what you can. But if you can't, that is perfectly all right. We love you anyway. We are so glad that you're here listening, because if you weren't, gosh, it would be just me and the guest sitting here talking, and that wouldn't be much fun for you. So let's get to the guest. We have the one and only Betsey Lewis, and you will find her at betseylewis.com. She has had some incredible experiences. Already before her first birthday, she had a UFO experience which resulted in missing time, 2 hours worth of it. And many times after that, she has had ET contact, both by grace and other benevolent beings, which gives her information. She was regressed through hypnosis to find out what happened then and later, and she found out, and we're going to find out. Now, in later years, she's been visited by star beings, and we are going to hear all about that too. It appears also that the extraterrestrial contacts, in general even, is a family affair. Her mom had contact, and maybe further back in her ancestry, they had contacts also. Whatever that is made her an extremely accurate psychic. She has predicted many things, totally against all odds, and that has happened. And even now, she is predicting the future. So we're going to hear about that. But also, what she has predicted in the future, we are going to hear about, and some of that stuff I'm really excited to hear about. She is an author of 12 non-fiction books on spirit communication, life after death, healing the earth, UFOs, aliens, star beings, Native American spirituality, and reincarnation, and other paranormal topics. Now, she is a frequent speaker on conferences and radio shows around the world. You have heard enough from me. Let's hear from the real Betsey Lewis. Welcome to the show, Betsey.
Well, thank you so much. Great to be on your show tonight.
Yeah, we're going to have some fun here. And,
yes, we are.
Yeah, I would love to talk first. Maybe there's one thing that you have researched an awful lot, and you have also had predictions about some of these things, and that is Earth is changing. And both in good ways and maybe not so good ways, because we are screwing it up here. Could you maybe let us know what some of your findings have been on the Earth changes and what we're going through?
Well, my second UFO encounter was when I was 7 years old, and I was walking home from school, first grade, and I saw this huge UFO, silver UFO disc in the sky, and it followed me, and I was so frightened. I'd walk a little ways, and then I'd hide in some bushes, and it seemed like nobody was around for me to point it out. I finally got home, but I had some missing time. And shortly after this huge event in my life, I started having these recurring dreams of earth changes, and I saw incredible volcanoes going off all over the world. I would suddenly be taken to a pier, next to the ocean, looking out at the ocean and see these huge tsunami-type waves coming in. And then I would feel these winds and the earth shaking, and these dreams were so real, so incredible, that I knew that I was being shown something in the future. And for a child at 7 years old to have these incredible dreams is pretty strange, but I sensed that I was being shown these things because it was going to happen later in my life. And look what's happening to the earth now.
Yeah, the volcanoes are going off like they actually hardly ever done before.
No, and earthquakes, places that don't usually have earthquakes are shaking. Yellowstone is shaking. Of course, they get a lot of earthquakes there, but just places along the western coast, like Oregon, Seattle area, right off the coast on the big Cascadia subduction zone, which is one of the most dangerous faults ever, and it's capable of producing at least a 9-point magnitude earthquake. They call it a megathrust earthquake. Yeah. And it would produce a huge tsunami if that happens. So that, we've got to start watching that. And I'm sensing, I had this dream about 2 or 3 weeks ago of a huge tsunami. And I saw it was dark water, so I felt that it was somewhere in the northwest. So I don't think we're out of the woods, and especially after Puerto Rico just had that big earthquake.
Yeah, and even New York had one. I think it was yesterday at 3.2, 3.6. Right. They never have. They never have this.
No, and parts of Canada have had earthquakes lately. There's just been really strange things going on. Texas is getting a lot of earthquakes lately. So, there's something going on. Our planet is going through some major changes. And, people are hearing these mysterious booms all over the world, and they're starting again. They stop for a little while, and it's kind of interesting that these volcanoes are going off now. So I think there's a connection between the two, the booms. And I just read that Houston, Texas, just had this huge boom that nobody knows what caused it. People from all over the area heard it, and it was shaking houses. So what are these booms? I think it's all Earth related.
Yeah, and even the Native American, when it comes to the Northwest, Native Americans, they talk about things in the past where they had huge tsunamis and everything on the coast was washed out. That happens
Right.
about every 350 years or so, and we're overdue for that one.
Oh, we are way overdue. And Mother Earth is still going through a lot of changes, but I think that I really believe that we're connected to the Earth more than we know, that with our consciousness. And look what's going on with the planet. There's 7.8 billion of us, and we're all being negative to the planet. We're disrespecting her. We're angry at each other, and we're creating these things with our energy. And thoughts are energy, and that's been proven. Even when 9/11 happened, there were satellites that picked up the geomagnetic waves that hit, that people were so upset. So we do cause, it's a symbiotic relationship with Earth and everything on Earth. And what's really interesting, I don't know if you read this or not, it just came out in the news that scientists now believe that the universe has a consciousness. And it's funny that, Native Americans have always believed that everything is connected. Everything has a consciousness, rocks, everything. And that's something that humans have forgotten, that everything is alive, everything thinks, everything is just incredible. And that's what they teach. So I think that's something we need to go back to, because we're so out of balance. We are so disconnected to everything now.
Yeah, and the universe has consciousness. That's something that we have known for a long time, but science is finally coming around.
Right. Yes, finally.
I
and
know,
it's just amazing.
Yeah, and I think that they have actually found computer language. Now, dealing with quantum mechanics, they found computer language deep embedded in the equations of fabric of space.
Yes,
So
yes.
if it is computer language in there, that means that there is an intelligence behind it, and that is that consciousness.
Right. And they also are finding out that time as we know it really doesn't exist. There's multiverses, they believe. There's parallel worlds. It just goes on. And that time is malleable. It's the past, present, and future could be happening all at once. And I think that's something that, we don't really understand, but it does. Time travel, I think, exists. I've always believed that. And there's so many theories about it. And they've done all these experiments, the double slit experiment. They've had planes that show that anything that's traveling high or anything, actually time slows down. They've had these atomic clocks on there that prove that time is slowing down. The higher you go, the slower it goes. So there's all these anomalies that are happening. So our world is very strange. It's, we think it's real, but it's not. Everything is moving. Everything is a vibration. And I've talked about that a lot. Frequency and vibration. Everything has a vibration. I don't know. Have you ever heard of the Mandela effect?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Now, that is something really interesting, where people hear a story like Nelson Mandela. People swear that he died long before he did. I think it was in 2003 that he actually died. But I can remember that he died way before that. And I know there are many other famous people that are in the news, and you go, I remember they died. Now, how could they have, they died a long time ago, but how could they just die? And there's other stories of people that have actually, like there's these time slips where people are walking down the street, present day, and all of a sudden they're in another century, and they see horses and wagons and everything, and they're like a part of it, and all of a sudden they're thrust back into the future, to the present time. So I think there's a lot of stargates out there. I think people disappear. You know, we know about the Bermuda Triangle. We know about all these places where people have vanished. Do they walk into another time? Do they walk into another parallel world? I think so. What do you think?
Yeah, probably all of those possibilities are there, especially time slippage. I think everybody at one point in their life have experienced that. My co-host on another show, she remembers she's going to work on a bus every day. And there was one day she came up to the bus station and stood there, nothing happened, the bus didn't come. She looked on the wall on the chart, the bus with her departure time was not listed. So she stood there a little bit longer, and then another bus came and she got to work late. But next day, she walked there at the regular time again, and then the bus showed up, and she asked him, "Why didn't you come yesterday?" And he said, "Well, I was here, but it wasn't where she was." So things happen, and you know, when we have some strange experiences like that, we always try to explain it away.
We do, don't we? Yes, we always do. But it exists, and I think that's something that we're going to have to start accepting, because I think things are accelerating more in our planet, and things are going to get stranger. We're seeing orbs, we're seeing these weird drones all over. There's, people are seeing UFOs all over the place. Now, a lot of that could be drones, that's true. Yeah. But I think that there's something else going on out there, and I think there's some kind of contact that's going to be made. I think disclosure is coming, and we're seeing that. The Navy has come out and said that, they've had all kinds of UFO activity and captured them, on radar. And so how can we deny that they're there? I think there's many species visiting Earth right now.
Most thinking people will realize, from looking at even a smidget of the evidence for these kinds of things, they're going to know that there is more to this than meets the eye. So I think like you mentioned, the disclosure, a form of disclosure will be coming. I kind of think it won't happen before the elections. I don't think they want any surprises. But after the election, I think something's going to happen where we're going to know something. They won't tell us much because, government is all about... Yeah, they're all about secrecy, but they're going to have to release something.
You probably read about the UFOs that flew over the White House. This isn't the first time. There were UFOs that were captured flying over the White House in the 1950s. And it happened on several nights. But recently, there was UFOs spotted. And then, of course, the military said it was birds. Now, they know the difference between birds on radar and UFOs. So, they tell us that, UFOs are swamp gas and Venus landing. And, I think we're beyond that now. We're smarter than that.
Well, the government is used to stonewalling and lying to us, and they always seem to get away with it because we don't have a recourse. So, but it's changing.
Thank goodness.
When it comes, we are about 3 minutes away from the break here, but let me ask you a quick question. When it comes to the raising of the vibration that we are going through here, and we can feel it, what kind of effects do you think we will see first? From maybe more psychic, possibly, or more start hearing things? What do you think?
I think so. I think we're going to see more UFOs. That's going to be, the call to awaken. I think things are going to get worse with the Earth before they get better. Native Americans, indigenous people tell us that when we start honoring Mother Earth, that when we stop all the wars and everything, that the earth changes will lessen, that they won't be as turbulent, they won't be as disastrous. So if we learn to honor everything on this planet and ourselves, things will change. It's up to us.
Yeah, you just said it. It's up to us because we are the ones that is interacting with Mother Earth. And like you said, space has intelligence. It's a consciousness. That means Earth has consciousness. And when somebody is doing something bad to you, chances are that we'll react to it, wouldn't it?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But when we get back from the break, I would love to talk a little more about your extraterrestrial contact. And because, gosh, you had contact or a visitation or whatever I would call it, all the way back to when you were about 8 months old. And this is so unique for that early in life. So there's got to be some connection here that follows you or your family.
I think so.
Yeah, let's talk about that. We are about 1 minute away from the break, so maybe we should go to break now, and then we will come back afterwards and talk about ET contacts. But I also want to, towards the end, I want to hear your predictions because you are one of the more incredible psychics out there, so I want to hear about that.
Thank you.
This is the Broadcast Team Alpha Show, hosted by Nori Love and Augie Nost. The one show that takes your doubts of the unknown and spins them into reality. Share your thoughts by calling our hotline number at 702-425-9230. That's 702-425-9230. Call now. Worldwide callers use Skype name KCOR Radio. More cutting-edge conversation and exploration of the quantum universe after this.
Hello, KCOR listeners. Lorian Fenton here from the Fenton Files to tell you about UFOCon 2020 in San Francisco, February 20th through 23rd. A conference like no other, UFOCon is where experiencers are going to reveal new information and science and consciousness will collide. So get your tickets at UFOCon2020.com. That's UFOCon2020.com. Don't miss what will be the most talked about conference of the decade.
Immerse yourself in an epic journey through time where ancient mysteries unfold within a story of love and betrayal, as well as a battle of good versus evil in The Emissary Book 1. The reader's favorite gold medal award winner for visionary fiction 2019, the action and adventure of The Emissary continues in The Emerald Tablet, Book 2. The 2019's Bronze Medal Award winner, The Emissary and The Emerald Tablet by Tamara Veach and Rennie DeFazio are both available now on Amazon.com. Let your reading adventure begin.
Steven.
Who said that?
Me, down here.
Ugh, what are you, a yellow booger?
I'm a banana slug, Steven.
What are you doing in my room?
I'm your sense of adventure. It's been a long time since we've had an adventure in the forest.
Mom took me to the forest last year.
I'm a slug, Steven. It took me a long time to get here.
You're right. I should get out.
Yeah, the forest is not that far away.
Hey, Mom!
Come to the forest where the more adventurous you lives. Check out discovertheforest.org for cool places nearby. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Great. It's great.
I think it's great. I think it's
The all-new KCOR Digital Radio Network.
great.
Make a note of it.
It's great.
Looking for a radio show like no other?
We need something brand new.
Then tune into the KCOR Digital Radio Network, Tuesdays at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, and get ready for The Quantum Shift. A A great shift of consciousness is sweeping across the Earth. Are you ready for the dimensional shift?
It is amazing, is it not?
The Quantum Shift. Quantum Shift. Quantum Shift. Hosted by Dr. Sam Muggsy and Kent Dunn. Be part of the fifth dimensional reality, where consciousness prevails and the universal law of one is the only true reality. The Quantum Shift. Quantum Shift. Quantum Shift. Live Tuesdays, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. Exclusively on the KCOR Digital Radio Network.
Going live.
Come explore the quantum possibilities. This is Broadcast Team Alpha.
Broadcast Team Alpha.
To be on the show live, call 702-425-9230. That's 702-425-9230. Worldwide callers use Skype name KCOR Radio. Share your thoughts of the show on Twitter at KCOR Radio, #KCOR. Or join the cutting edge conversation live in our chat room at KCORradio.com. Now back to Broadcast Team Alpha with your free thinking hosts, Nori Love and Augie Nast.
Hello, we are back with Broadcast Team Alpha, and we are talking with Betsey Lewis. And I am sorry to say, my co-host, Nori Love, is not able to be with us today. And she will be back next time, but she just with us in spirit tonight. Anyway, before the show, we were talking about all kinds of goofy stuff. There is one thing that I want to mention, because I'm sitting here looking at her website at betseylewis.com. And folks, if you're listening to this, write it down, because this you want to see. She has a picture under the section of her website called Earth Changes. There's a picture of a bird flying. It's kind of a clear picture, but this bird is on fire. Could you talk a little bit about that? Maybe it's the phoenix, was it?
I think it was. This was back in 2018, July 23rd, that a webcam captured this strange-looking bird flying over Teton National Park, which is near Yellowstone Park up in Wyoming, and it looks exactly like what would be a phoenix, and the phoenix is supposed to consume itself in fire. There's many legends about the phoenix. Native Americans have stories about these huge birds, the thunderbird, but there's a lot of predictions about the phoenix. And one person that wrote about it back in the 1980s was Mary Summer Rain, Native American girl, who authored the book Phoenix Rising, about her Native American mentor who was blind, no eyes. Now, I don't know if she really existed, but whoever, if it was Mary Summer Rain that gave these predictions, but she talked about all the things that are happening right now. The booms, the strange booms, the earthquakes, just so much. And she talked about that these are the Phoenix days, that the Phoenix is rising up from the earth, and all these changes are going to happen. The earth shaking, sinkholes. We're seeing sinkholes forming all over the place, and houses have actually gone into some of these sinkholes. But what's really interesting about this strange bird, that on July 18th, just before this bird was captured on webcam, there was a huge, massive fissure that opened up in Yellowstone National Park. And I kind of wonder, are these two things linked? It's pretty strange. But there's just so many things that are happening with our world right now. We've had, near Mayotte, an island off of East Africa. I think it was just shortly after all of this was happening, about a year or two ago, that the earth rang like a bell. there was some kind of wave that went around the world that they've never seen before. Scientists were totally baffled about this, and it must have been some kind of deep earth type of movement, but it was so strange, and it just caused the earth to ring. It was totally weird. So there's just a lot of strange things going on right now.
Yeah, I know. This is, and I'm looking at this picture. This was taken in the Teton National Park, I think, and it definitely looks like a bird, and it has the color of flames. So we wonder, maybe it had something to do with that feature. It could be an interdimensional thing that kind of time slippage or slipped into our reality for a moment and then disappears back into their own again. And I guess I just wanted to mention this before I want to hear more about...
I'm glad you did.
Yeah.
I'm glad you did. Can I say a little bit more about this event that happened on November 11th? It was 11/11. You know, people have seen 11/11 a lot, on their phones, or, that's been a thing. But it was on 11/11/2018, Sunday, that this unusual seismic pulse ripped around the world, almost undetected, but the waves rang for over 20 minutes, and it was off this island. So I think we're going to start, I just feel that things are going to just get crazier. We better all buckle up, because we're going to be in for a huge ride this year. It's going to be crazy.
Yeah, there is changes coming, and if we prepare for it, then we'll be better off. Let's hear a little more about your extraterrestrial contacts. You have had missing time. You had been taken back under hypnosis and found.
Right.
So what's going on?
I wish I could tell you, but I've had all these strange experiences with paranormal ghosts since I was very young. But it started when I was 8 months old. My parents were attending the University of Moscow, Idaho, and they decided to drive to southern Idaho, 8-hour drive, to see family members, and they hadn't seen me since I was just, born 8 months earlier. So they decided to leave one weekend, and they got to an area that was called New Meadows, Idaho. And at the time, there was just a few ranches out in the area. There was really not much out there. And they had traveled for some time. They hadn't seen any cars anywhere on the road, which was pretty unusual. And it's dark, and all of a sudden, they hear this horrendous roar that came out of nowhere, and it started shaking the car so hard. It was like some giant hand had reached down and was just shaking the car. And they were frightened. My parents were frightened. I was in the back seat in a little basket. But anyway, my father pulled over. This is what he remembered and what my mother remembered. They pulled over, they got out, and the roar had stopped, and there was nothing in the sky. But they thought a plane was going to crash on them. So that was a story I always heard. And then my uncle asked me in 1980 if I'd heard this story, and I said yes. And then he said, well, did they tell you they couldn't account for 2 hours? They were missing 2 hours because my father always knew what time they'd get in. And so they thought my parents were in a car accident, that we're all in an accident. And so that started me thinking maybe we had something else go on, that we were abducted by aliens. And somehow, we lost that time that we were abducted. So I contacted MUFON. And Ann Druffel, who was very famous at the time, had written many books on UFOs and people being abducted. She wrote the Tahunga Canyon Contact book and several other books. And she decided that she wanted to regressed my mom and I through hypnosis, and we had 2 separate regressions, but we both described that we were abducted by aliens. I described more than my mom did at the time, but she said she was so frightened that she felt that I was going to be taken. She thought I was going to be kidnapped. She kept talking about some kind of strange smell at the time, and I described, and I was only 8 months old, but they say that we record everything since the time we were born, that the brain hears everything. Even before we were born, we hear our mother and our father talking, and the brain just is like a sponge. So what I described was we were taken on board this spaceship, and I remember that the floor, there was like several floors, but I could see through the floor. It was clear, and I could see my father was in some area sitting in this big chair, and he was kind of like in a trance-like state. And my mother was in this tube, and she couldn't get out of it, and she kept calling my name. And I was on a table being examined by these gray aliens who I thought looked like babies. They looked like me, bald, and so I wasn't frightened, but I felt that I was being examined, and somehow we were put back into the car. It seemed like we had actually gone through the roof of the car, which seems pretty strange, but there's so many different stories of aliens going through walls that they can go through anything that is solid. And so I saw us going through, and I saw my dad slumped over. I saw my mom coming out of it, and she looked really frightened. And that was it. So I don't know what the purpose was, but like I said, I had, when I was 3 years old, my mother said that I had invisible playmates, that I had names for 2 of them, and I would talk to them, and they would give me messages, but I wouldn't share them with my parents. So was that my spirit guides? I don't know. Were they aliens? I don't know, but I feel that they were benevolent, and I've always felt that I was here to guide people through the earth changes coming.
Yeah, chances are they were guides, or they could be interdimensionals that came to visit, and maybe they had an agenda, and a good agenda, obviously, because you were never harmed.
No, we were never harmed.
Yeah,
and it's weird. My mother always believed in UFOs. This is way back. This is in the 50s. And, it's pretty amazing that she believes in UFOs, and I don't know if she had any past experiences besides that, but I know my father didn't want to talk about it. He believed in them. And when I asked him if he wanted to be regressed, he got very strange about it and didn't want to be regressed. So I don't know if there was something he felt was going to be uncovered or what, but yeah.
Yeah, chances are. And now you had contact with extraterrestrial energies and entities after that also in later years, even benevolent.
Well, I've had, when I was very small, I had dreams of flying. I had dreams over and over, recurring dreams of flying. And UFOs landing in our neighborhood, these dreams were so real. I can't tell you. It was like I was looking, and I would see these aliens, and I thought, oh, they're just dreams, right? But there's just a lot of things, strange things that would happen. We lived in a house that was new. It was newly built, and there was all kinds of strange things going on, all kinds of activity. There were noises. My mother would be alone downstairs in the basement, and she would hear like walking upstairs, like some heavy, somebody with heavy shoes walking across, and she said she would get freaked. So there was some kind of activity, a poltergeist, I don't know, but there was a lot of things going on during that time. And many of my experiences, I had some missing time through the years. I can't explain it. I was driving from Portland, Oregon to Salem, Oregon, about an hour away, and I told my father what time I was leaving, what time I planned to get there, and I arrived 2 hours late. And he said, "Where have you been?" And I go, "What do you mean, where have I been?" He says, "Well, it's much later. It's 2 hours, Where have you been?" And I said, "I was on the road." He says, "Well, I don't know where you were, but something happened."
That's suspicious.
Yeah, it is, yeah. So, like I said, I've just had a lot of these things, and I've had dreams that come true. That's just like I did when I was 7 years old. I see earth changes. I've been warned about big earthquakes time and time again. I saw Mount St. Helens. I knew it was going to erupt. I had dreams of the big volcano erupting. I had dreams of a big earthquake in 1972, 3 nights in a row that it was going to hit LA. And I lived there at the time, and I was fine. Yeah. So I'm thankful for these dreams, wherever they're coming from. I'm grateful that I received them.
Well, they may be just dreams, and maybe they're not just dreams.
Well, what's strange about the big LA earthquake, it happened 3 nights in a row. In the morning that it hit, I was working for a brokerage firm at the time, and I was up earlier, and then it hit. And it was like a 6.3 or something like that, but it shook the apartment building that I was in at the time. It really shook it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I was warned. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And when you talk about your dreams, that also kind of dovetails right into your predictions, because you have made some predictions that has been extremely accurate in the past, as well as for what we are going through right now. And talk a little bit about the past, but I really want to get to the future too.
Okay. Well, in 2016, it was 6 or 7 months before Donald Trump was elected, I had a vision of him taking the oath of president of the 45th, as the 45th president of the United States. And I saw him in a dark overcoat, and I saw Melania, his wife, in a lighter colored coat, and I saw it so clearly. I knew that he was going to be elected. And everybody, all these psychics out there were all saying Hillary, even the polls said Hillary's ahead, and I kept saying no. And I told people on Facebook and everything, and a lot of people were angry at me because I said Hillary was not going to win. I see Donald Trump, and, that I was told that, So there was even a couple of internet news people that contacted me and actually wrote about me predicting that. So I'm not making this up, guys. I actually did, and it came true. It came true just as I had seen.
Yeah, and I tell you though, there are people that has predicted that, including me actually. I knew he was going to win too, because
wow.
Yeah, 2 reasons for that. First of all, sooner or later the good side have to win, and the swamp will be cleaned, and eventually, but it's not a quick thing. So we are going through all that, and that is probably one of the reasons we are going through all the weirdness in these countries. And the dark side will never lay down and die by itself. It's just a little screwy before it's over. So yeah, you said it could get worse before it get better. But what about the predictions that we're going through right now?
Okay. Well, this year I'm seeing more wildfires, And I believe the chemtrails that are over our heads, that are being laid down daily, are affecting our whole planet. Our geoengineering, I believe that they are causing trees to dry out and plant life to become extremely flammable. And these wildfires are going to get worse. I know that in Australia, what we saw was so horrendous, and it was set by arsonists, people that have no love or care about the planet and animals. You know, there was like 500 million animals that perished in those fires. And it upset me so greatly to think that we just don't, you know, there's a lot of people that just don't care about the planet or honor it. And so Mother Earth is going to rebel. We're going to see greater tornadoes because of the weather and the warming. I mean, we've got cooling, we've got heating, we've got all kinds of things going on. We're going to see flash floods, huge floods all over the world. We're going to see crazier weather, straight line winds that come out of nowhere. There's just going to be a lot of things going on. We're going to see Iran, more stuff going on with Iran, North Korea, and possibly even Russia, some things going on. A lot of saber rattling going on. I don't see World War III. I know that a lot of people are worried about that. I see the economy staying good. I see it being positive, so that's a good thing. You know, people have been predicting, some of these naysayers and doomsayers and all, they've been predicting a crash, and I don't see that. If something happens to Trump, I see the stock market diving, but I don't see anything happening to him. I see him being reelected, and I still can't believe that people thought he was actually impeached, and they thought that Pence was president now, and I'm going, hello, wake up.
I saw that. That's funny.
Yeah.
What about what about the far future? Is there anything that you can say about 5 years, 10 years, 15 years from now?
Good question. Well, here again, I believe that we have the power to heal our Earth, to change things on this planet if we come together in mass consciousness. But if we continue the way we are, destroying everything, you know, I just see people here where I live near Las Vegas, and I just shake my head. You know, they live in these huge mansions, 2 or 3 people in these huge mansions, and they don't seem to care about the planet, you know. They just don't honor anything. And I go, you know, we've got to wake up with all this materialism, you know, and what we've done to the planet and how we're destroying our oceans, our waters. If we don't do it now, like I said, you know, and I believe other worlds have been destroyed by the beings that live there. And I think we could do it here too. I think Mars is a good example of a civilization that actually destroyed itself. Even Atlantis, I think they were really technologically advanced, and they destroyed themselves. So, you know, we better wake up right now. There's no time to waste.
And there is a point to that, actually, because there is radioactive gas up on Mars that has been detected, and that radioactive gas will never appear in nature unless it comes from a nuclear explosion.
Exactly. Right. Yeah. How right you are. And I had, well, I guess I'd call it remote viewing, that I saw Mars, and I saw the scientists at JPL looking at Mars and seeing the huge face that's there. I also saw pyramid shapes on their giant pyramid shapes. I saw all kinds of things, and I know that Mars was once inhabited by a great civilization.
It absolutely was. And now we got about 2 minutes left of the show. Would you tell people where they can get a hold of you? But you are also giving readings. Let them know how they can get in touch with you about all these things.
Oh, sure. They can go to my website. I have a contact page. They can go to betseylewis.com, and Betsey spelled a little bit different. It's got an extra E in it. It's Betsey. Lewis is LEWIS.com, and you can click on there and see about my readings, what I offer, and actually reviews, some incredible reviews that I've received. I've got a new book out called 2020 Prophecies and Predictions. Actually has some ancient prophecies in there. So I've got both older prophecies and I've got the new ones in there. So I think they'll see a lot in there and enjoy it.
Absolutely. And we got 30 seconds left. So thank you very much for being here with us, Betsey.
Well, thank you. Oh, thank you, Avi. It's been a pleasure and an honor.
Okay, thank you very much. And we'll be back next week with, you and me, and hopefully we will have Nori with us. We miss her, so we'll be back. Take care.
You've been listening to Broadcast Team Alpha.
Broadcast Team Alpha.
Hosted by Nori Love and Augie Nost. Every Tuesday night at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern, exclusively on the KCOR Digital Radio Network. The balance of power is shifting to a new paradigm. Will you be ready? For more information on Broadcast Team Alpha, as well as the hosts, Nori Love and Augie Nost, please visit their website at broadcastteamalpha.com. Until next week, remember to keep those minds open while always exploring the endless quantum possibilities.
Broadcast Team Alpha. Over and out.
This is KCOR Las Vegas, home of the Digital Radio Network, broadcasting from a shack just south of Area 51.
Wait, that doesn't exist.
This is the